So you're thinking about Shenzhen maybe, a city that's just, well, buzzing.
Absolutely buzzing.
And you want to get up to speed quickly, get the real essentials if you're considering going there for work or maybe a longer stay.
Yeah, cut through the noise.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing today. We're diving deep into Shenzhen, China. It's a place moveandstay.com points out has been a major hub for business travelers and expats for, what, over 25 years now?
That's right, 25 years. That's quite a long time to be watching a city like Shenzhen evolve and helping people navigate it. It gives moveandstay.com a really solid perspective.
Exactly. So our mission for you today, using their Shenzhen Expat Survival Guide
Yeah.
as our base, is to pull out the absolute must-know info if Shenzhen is on your map. Think of it as like your essential briefing.
And what makes that guide, and hopefully our chat today, so valuable is that long-term view. MoveAndStay.com hasn't just reported on Shenzhen. They've been right there assisting expats, business folks, specifically within Asia, for ages. That practical experience is, well, it's gold.
Totally agree. We're going to hit the big things, visas, of course, the job market, finding housing, getting around, healthcare, even those, cultural bits that really matter, plus education, essential services, the works.
Okay.
Right, let's jump in with maybe the biggest hurdle first. Visas. You can't really do anything else without sorting this.
You really can't. It's foundational. Getting the correct visa isn't just paperwork. It's your legal permission to be there, to do what you plan to do. MoveAndStay.com really stresses this. Get it right from the start.
So what are the main visa types we need to know about for Shenzhen?
Okay, the guide lays out the common ones. For short visits, pure tourism, you've got the tourist visa, that's the L visa. But remember, absolutely no work or study allowed on that one.
Got it. L for leisure.
Pretty much. Then for business stuff, meetings, conferences, short commercial trips, that's the business visa or M visa.
M for meeting, maybe.
Makes sense.
Okay, short trips covered. What if you're planning a longer stay, like for work?
Right. If you're going for employment, the work visa, the Z visa, is essential. And like the guide highlights, this needs a separate work permit, usually sorted by your employer.
Okay, Z visa plus work permit. Anything else?
Yeah, if you're starting for more than 6 months, you'll need a student visa, the X visa. And for family members joining someone already living and working there, that's the family visa, or Q visa. Q1 is for longer stays, Q2 for shorter visits.
Wow. Okay, so it's really crucial to know exactly why you're going before you even apply.
Absolutely. Clarity up front saves a lot of hassle.
So say you figured out the right visa. What's the general application process look like?
Well, moveandstay.com outlines the typical steps. First, like we said, identify the right category. Then you gather your documents, passport, application form, or recent photo are always needed.
Standard stuff.
Yeah. Plus, you'll likely need proof of travel plans and then specific things for your visa type, like an invitation letter for the M visa or maybe enrollment papers for the X visa.
Okay, got all the papers. Then what?
Then you submit, usually at the Chinese embassy or consulate in your home country. Sometimes there are official visa application centers too. You might even need an interview. It depends.
An interview, okay.
Yeah. After submission, you wait. Processing times can vary a lot, so moveandstay.com really hammers home the point. Apply well in advance, don't leave it late.
Good advice. And then hopefully you get the nod.
Hopefully. Then you just need to go and collect your visa.
Okay, seems straightforward enough. But the guide mentioned something specific if you're staying with friends, not in a hotel. What was that?
Ah, yes, that's a really key detail. Easy to miss. If you're staying with friends or family, you must register your temporary residence within 24 hours of arriving.
24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quick. But moveandstay.com mentions Shenzhen is quite modern with this. In some cases, they have a QR code system. You scan it, fill in your details online, sometimes with English options. It's pretty efficient, actually.
That is helpful. Definitely beats finding an office. What if, plans change and you need to stay longer than your visa allows? Right. Overstaying is a definite no-no. Big problems. MovingStay.com is clear on that. For extensions or renewals, you need to go to the Public Security Bureau, the PSB.
PSB, got it.
The absolute crucial thing is timing. Start the process before your current visa runs out, like at least a month before, ideally. You'll need your passport, visa, proof of address, the usual forms, and whatever else relates to your visa type.
And just to recap for work, the Z visa gets you in, but you still need more, right?
Correct. The Z visa is step 1 for entry. To legally work, you need that work permit sponsored by your employer, and then you also need to get a residence permit for employment. Working without all three, big legal risk.
Okay, so visa's sorted. foundational, like you said.
Absolutely. Understanding that whole process is the first non-negotiable step, just like movinstay.com says. Now, shall we talk about why many people go? The jobs.
Yes, let's. Shenzhen's got this huge reputation, right? A city just packed with opportunities.
Yeah.
According to MoveInStay.com, what are the best ways to actually find those jobs?
Well, the guide points to a few key strategies. Online job boards are obviously big. LinkedIn is useful globally.
Sure.
MoveAndStay.com also mentions local Chinese sites like Lipin and Zopin. But importantly, they note you'll probably need translation tools for those.
Ah, okay. Language barrier potential there.
Yeah. Recruitment agencies that specialize in placing expats in China can also be really helpful. They know the market.
And what about once you're actually in Shenzhen? How important is networking?
Oh, hugely important. MoveAndStay.com really emphasizes this. Joining expat groups is a good start. WeChat groups, Facebook groups, whatever people are using.
Makes sense. Finding your tribe.
Exactly. And attending industry events, seminars, even language exchange programs can be surprisingly useful for meeting people professionally and socially. Oh, and tailor your CV. Highlight any China-related experience. That helps.
Good tip.
Yeah.
So say you network, you tailor the CV, you land a job offer. What about that work permit process you mentioned?
Right. So, as we touched on, it's usually employer-driven. Your company sponsors you. MoveInStay.com confirms this. They'll normally guide you through it.
Okay, so they handle the heavy lifting.
Mostly, yeah. You'll provide the documents, degree certificates, passport. You'll need a health check. The guide also wisely suggests checking official government websites, too, just for the absolute latest requirements, because these things can change.
Always good to double check.
Yeah.
It really sounds like having that employer support is critical for the work route.
It definitely smooths the process.
You mentioned networking earlier, the expat groups, events. How vital is that sort of social connection for settling in professionally?
I'd say it's incredibly vital. Those expat groups, they're an instant support network. People who get what you're going through, who can give real-world tips.
Yeah, practical advice.
And sometimes even job leads pop up informally in those groups. Industry events, great for meeting local professionals, staying current. Even a language exchange, you just broaden your circle. Shenzhen's expat community is really active, and MoveAndStay.com's advice to actively engage is spot on. It makes the whole transition personal and professional much smoother.
Okay, so you've tackled visas, you're exploring jobs. Next massive thing, finding somewhere to live. That can feel overwhelming in a new city.
Oh, absolutely. Getting settled with accommodation is, well, it's fundamental. Feeling like you have a proper base. MoveAndStay.com flags a few neighborhoods that are generally popular with expats. Each has a slightly different feel.
Okay, tell us about those.
Yeah.
Where do expats tend to cluster?
Well, Shaku often comes up first, especially for families. It's known for international schools. It has a bit more of a Western vibe, perhaps.
Right, I've heard of Shiku.
Then there's Fusion. That's the CBD, the Central Business District. So great transport, very urban, fast-paced.
Okay, more central.
And Nanshan is another one MoveAndStay.com mentions. Kind of up and coming, a mix of residential and commercial areas. Attracts a pretty diverse crowd. The guide even mentions the Hilton in Shaku as maybe a good place to land initially while you explore.
It's handy having a temporary base. So once you find an apartment you like, what are the key things with rental agreements? Costs.
Right. MoveAndStay.com stresses. Read that rental agreement carefully before signing anything. Standard practice is usually a deposit, often 2 or 3 months' rent.
Wow, okay. Quite a bit up front.
Yeah, plus the first month's rent in advance. And agent fees are common too, maybe half a month's rent.
So budget for that initial outlay. What about monthly costs? Any rough idea?
It varies a lot by location and size, obviously, but the guide gives some ballpark figures in RMB. A studio might be roughly 5,000 to 10,000 RMB a month. A one-bedroom, maybe 8,000 to 15,000. 2 bedrooms could be 12,000 to 25,000 or even more.
And presumably higher in those popular areas like Shiku or Fusion.
Exactly. You'll pay a premium for location and amenities.
Makes sense. What about choosing between short-term and long-term rentals? Pros and cons.
Yeah, there are trade-offs. Short-term gives you flexibility. They're often furnished, might include utilities, but they usually cost more per month, and there aren't as many available.
Okay, so convenience versus cost.
Pretty much. Long-term rentals are generally cheaper monthly, more choice available, but you're committing for longer. They're usually unfurnished, so you have to set everything up.
Right, buying furniture, connecting utilities.
Exactly. As MoveAndStay.com points out, the best choice really depends on you, how long you're staying, your budget, how much hassle you're prepared for, their advice. Talk to other expats, find a reliable agent. That can make a huge difference.
Sound advice. Okay, you've got your visa, maybe a job lead, a roof over your head. How do you actually get around this massive city?
Well, the good news is Shenzhen has a really efficient transport system. MoveAndStay.com highlights this. The metro is fantastic.
The subway.
Yeah, the metro. It's clean, reliable, covers a huge area, and it's still expanding. Getting a Shenzhen Tong card or rechargeable travel card is definitely the way to go. It works on the metro and buses.
Okay, Shenzhen Tong card. What about the buses? Are they manageable if your Chinese isn't great?
The bus network is huge, very extensive. But yeah, it can be a bit more challenging initially. MoveAndStay.com suggests using map apps like Baidu Maps or a map that's Go to D2.
Even if they're in Chinese?
Mostly, yeah. But you can often type destinations in English and you can kind of figure out the routes and stops with a bit of practice. It gets easier.
Okay, good to know. And taxis or ride sharing?
Taxis are everywhere, usually easy to find outside rush hour. MoveAndStay.com advises making sure the meter's on and definitely have your destination written in Chinese. Just avoids confusion.
Smart.
Ride-sharing apps, especially Didi Chuxing, are super popular, often really convenient. You generally need a local Chinese phone number to sign up, though, and just be aware of surge pricing during busy times.
Right, like Uber or Lyft here. Shenzhen's right next to Hong Kong, too. How do you get across the border?
Several good options, according to MoveAndStay.com. Taking the metro or train through Lohu or Fushun checkpoints is often quickest. You connect right onto Hong Kong's MTR system.
Seamless.
Pretty much. Buses are cheaper, but can take longer, especially with border traffic. And there are ferries, too, from Shekou Cruise Home. They go direct to Hong Kong Airport and other spots in HK.
Ferries. Interesting.
Yeah. Whatever way you choose, just remember passport and visas ready, and maybe allow a bit of extra time for the border crossing itself. It can get busy.
Always good to factor in buffer time. Okay, really practical transport tips there. Let's shift gears to something vital for peace of mind. Healthcare.
Absolutely essential to know your options. Shenzhen has both public and private hospitals. Public ones are cheaper, generally, but can be very crowded, maybe longer waits.
Private.
Private hospitals often have English-speaking staff, are usually quicker, but they cost more. MoveAndStay.com mentions a couple of examples like the University of Hong Kong Shenzhen Hospital and the Shenzhen Sami Medical Center. Good idea to just save the number of a hospital near where you live.
Definitely. What about insurance? How do expats usually get covered?
MoveAndStay.com outlines the common ways. Many employers will include health insurance in your benefits package. That's quite common.
Okay, employer provided.
Or you can get international health insurance yourself. That usually gives broad coverage, including those private hospitals. There are also local Chinese health insurance plans, which might be cheaper, but you've really got to check the details, what's covered, what's not.
So really compare policies.
Absolutely. Look closely at coverage, exclusions, deductibles. Know what you're buying.
Right. And hopefully you never need it, but what are the emergency numbers?
Okay, the main emergency number for medical is 120.
120.
Yep. For police, if it's not an emergency, it's 110. And for fire, it's 119.
110 police, 119 fire.
Yeah.
Got it.
When you call, try to speak clearly, give your exact location. If language is an issue, try to get someone nearby to help translate. Also practical, keep a basic first aid kit at home and know where the nearest 24-hour pharmacy is.
All really good practical safety tips. Okay, moving from the practicalities to, well, the cultural side. How important is understanding local customs in Shenzhen?
It can make a huge difference to your experience, how well you integrate. MoveAndStay.com touches on Guangxi relationships. It's a big concept. Building trust takes time, takes patience.
Oh, I see.
Also, the idea of saving face is important, avoiding public criticism or embarrassment for someone. And even small things like how you receive a business card, use both hands, take a moment to look at it, it shows respect.
So even though Shenzhen is super modern, these traditional values are still quite present.
Very much so. It's a global city, yes. But MoveAndStay.com rightly points out that these underlying Chinese values still shape interactions, socially and professionally. Making an effort pays off.
How can newcomers connect with other expats, build a social life?
MoveAndStay.com suggests tapping into online forums and social media groups for Shenzhen expats. Great for info and meeting people.
Find those WeChat groups again.
Exactly. Attend networking events. Sometimes they're professional, sometimes just social. Joining sports teams or hobby groups is another great way. Find people with similar interests.
Makes sense.
And honestly, just getting out and exploring Shenzhen's amazing food scene and entertainment options, it's fun and you meet people naturally.
Sounds like plenty of ways to connect.
Yeah?
Now, what about families or people wanting to study? Education options.
Right. For expat families, international schools are key. Shenzhen has quite a few good ones, but as moveandstay.com notes, they can be competitive to get into, and the fees vary a lot.
Things to look for when choosing.
Location, definitely. The curriculum, like IB, A levels, and the school's reputation. The guide mentions a few, like the International School of Shenzhen, QSI, Green Oasis School, and Fusion.
Okay. And for adults wanting to learn Chinese, Mandarin or Cantonese.
Lots of options there, too. MoveAndStay.com mentions language schools, private tutors. Learning even basic Chinese makes daily life so much easier, helps you connect more. And those language exchange events we mentioned, great for practice.
Good point. What about higher education? Universities?
Shenzhen has several universities. Shenzhen University is a big one mentioned by MoveAndStay.com. Others specialize in tech, business, entry requirements, language of instruction that all varies, so you'd need to check with the specific institution. The guide suggests asking other expats or local contacts for advice here too.
Navigating the system. Okay, comprehensive look at education. Let's wrap up with some essential daily life services. Banking, shopping, that kind of thing.
Yeah, getting the basics sorted makes you feel settled. Banking first, opening an account usually needs your passport, proof of address. MoveAndStay.com points this out.
Pretty standard.
But what's really key, and the guide emphasizes this, is mobile payments. Alipay and WeChat Pay are everywhere. You almost need them. Credit card use is much lower than in, say, the US or Europe.
So get those apps set up ASAP.
Definitely. For shopping, groceries, you've got big supermarkets like Walmart, Carrefour, often with imported goods sections. Smaller international stores, too.
Okay. Familiar names?
But moveandstay.com also recommends local markets for fresh stuff. Often better quality, better prices. You might need to haggle a bit sometimes, but it's worth exploring. Oh, and grocery delivery apps are getting really popular, too. Convenience factor.
Always good. Finally, what about pets? Bringing a dog or cat?
It's becoming more common. MoveAndStay.com notes that pet services are growing. Finding an English-speaking vet might take a bit of searching, but it's possible. Supplies are easy enough to find online or in shops.
Any regulations to be aware of?
Yes, definitely. You need to know the rules about registration, vaccinations, and be aware of restrictions where dogs are allowed in parks or public areas.
Right. And pet care if you travel.
Good question. The guide suggests using expat networks or local platforms to find reliable pet sitters or dog walkers. Get recommendations, meet them first. That's important.
Absolutely. Okay, so wrapping this all up, Shenzhen sounds incredibly dynamic, full of energy, something MoveAndStay.com has obviously seen develop over 25 years.
Absolutely. It offers so much for business, for lifestyle, but like MoveAndStay.com consistently shows through their guide, preparation is key. Understanding what you're getting into, knowing the resources available, that makes all the difference for a smooth move.
Definitely. So here's a final thought for you listening. Thinking about everything we've covered, visas, jobs, housing, culture, daily life, which part of moving to Shenzhen seems most interesting or maybe the most challenging for you?
Yeah.
We'd encourage you to dig deeper into that specific aspect. Use resources like the kind of detailed guidance MoveAndStay.com offers. Tailor your research to what matters most to you.
Good advice.
Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive today.